Chapter 2138. The Past Life 63-inch Ninth Emperor. It's getting late. I've already warmed up your bed. You can go rest first. Dongfang Yu looked at the sky and said, "It's still early. Why did the Ninth Emperor have to go to bed so early?" Nan Changfeng glanced at Dongfang Yu coldly. Qing Zhu, she did not know if it was the gaze or the word Qing Zhu that made her face turn pale. She glared at Nan Changfeng fiercely and turned around to leave. However, before Dongfang Yu walked out of the courtyard's door, she ran into Mu Qingya, who had just entered outside the courtyard. Mu Qingya did not see Dongfang Yu and almost bumped her. Luckily, Dongfang Yu reacted quickly and dodged to avoid her. Mu Qingya was stunned as she looked at Dongfang Yu standing in front of her. An unknown light flashed in her eyes. Dongfang Yu. The Ninth Emperor stretched her hand lazily. "Next time, if someone walks without looking at the road, you do not have to dodge." She paused for a moment and said, "Just kick her away directly." "Yes, master. I understand." Dongfang Yu smiled. When she turned to look at Mu Qingya, her face turned cold. "What are you doing here? Get out." Mu Qingya ignored Dongfang Yu and slowly walked toward the Ninth Emperor. She raised her chin arrogantly and smiled. "Sister, I have wanted to see you for a while." "Sister." These words made the Ninth Emperor feel goosebumps all over. She rubbed her arms and turned to look at Nan Changfeng. "Why do I feel a little cold?" Nan Changfeng raised his hand, took off his outer coat, and draped it over the Ninth Emperor's body. "It's not the cold. It's someone who made you feel nauseous." Mu Qingya's face changed dramatically after hearing these words from Nan Changfeng. She bit her lip hard. A feeling of shame hit her heart, making her feel very uncomfortable. "Sister, I'm here for father." Mu Qingya held back the anger in her heart and forced a smile. "He missed you. Me for extra chapters." "Oh." The Ninth Emperor smiled carelessly. "Mu is not here. There is no one else here, and there is no need for you to continue pretending." These words caused Mu Qingya's expression to sink slightly for a few moments. What does sister mean by this? What do I mean? The Ninth Emperor stood up from her seat. "Don't you understand?" Her voice was low, and her tone remained calm. Mu Qingya had to admit that this woman was indeed beautiful. However, it was not enough because only strong people would be respected on this mainland. "Sister," Mu Qingya glanced at Changfeng on the side and turned to the Ninth Emperor again. A faint smile on her lips. "This time, I really came for my father because your servant attacked my grandmother." The Ninth Emperor shrugged. "I know. It seems that Dongfang Yu did not dare to talk about Sima Yan. I know. Dongfang Yu must have a relationship with Sima Yan. Otherwise, why did she not dare to tell little Nine?" "Sister," she spoke with a cold smile. "She seduced that old man Sima Yan in public to avoid father's punishment, and yet you still keep such a servant around? Do you still want to protect her?" The Ninth Emperor's gaze was fixed upon Dongfang Yu. No one knew what she was thinking, and she ignored Mu Qingya. Mu Qingya continued, "I came today to tell you that in father's heart, grandmother is far more important than anyone else. Otherwise, he would not have abandoned you and your mother for her. He even married my mother. So, don't be delusional and think that he will feel guilty about you. It's impossible." Chapter 2139. The Past Life 64. Mu Qingya trembled. Her eyes were already filled with tears, and her voice carried anger. The Ninth Emperor smiled faintly and said, "I've already talked with Dongfang Yu." "Sister, I know you will." Mu Qingya smiled and went forward, tried to tug the Ninth Emperor's hand. The Ninth Emperor quickly put her hand in Nan Changfeng's hand, avoiding Mu Qingya's hand. Nan Changfeng froze, lowering his gaze to look at her hand in his palm, and the smile on his face grew warmer. However, this somehow felt like a sword was deeply stabbing Mu Qingya's heart. She bit her lip to restrain the anger. "I have already talked with her." The Ninth Emperor smiled faintly. If others bullied her, why not do something more powerful to fight that person back? She knew her people well. If it were not for old lady Mu being a demon, Dongfang Yu would not have acted like that. She was a kind girl. Compared to the other girls in Cloud Mountain, she could be considered very tolerant. If it were anyone else, they would have beaten that old lady and left her half dead. Mu Qingya froze and looked at little Nine in disbelief, not believing that she could say such words. That is her grandmother. How can she bear to? Mu Qingya trembled and closed her eyes. Only after half a few seconds did she open them again, staring at little Nine intensely. Grandmother is right. You have the blood of the Mu family flowing in your body, yet you still do things that are indeed so cruel and ruthless. Our Mu family has always been kind, but you're the only one who is so unfilial. She took a deep breath and continued. You are not only disloyal, but also unfaithful and unfilial. With this behavior, I guess God will never let you go easily. God, the 9th Emperor snorted. When God sees me, he has to call me father. Who do you think you are? Mu Qingya sneered. Even her grandfather, who was the emperor of a kingdom, did not dare to say that. Little Nine was really arrogant. Then, do you know what your servant did when father was planning to punish her? Mu Qingya sneered. The 9th Emperor frowned. Mu, you was also involved in this matter? Why didn't Dongfang tell me? She looked up at Dongfang. Me for extra chapters. As Dongfang's eyes met hers, Dongfang trembled and quickly turned around, avoiding the 9th Emperor's gaze. Seeing how Dongfang was dodging eye contact, the 9th Emperor knew that what Mu Qingya said was true. Mu, he had gone to find Dongfang, who was in trouble, and Dongfang still dared to hide that from her. Mu Qingya sneered and looked at the 9th Emperor, and then looked at Dongfang, who looked scared. A cold smile grew upon her face. The 9th Emperor released her hand and threw Mu Qingya into the lake. You can swim away from here. She looked at Mu Qingya, who was struggling in the water expressionlessly. Mu Qingya shouted angrily, How dare you? The 9th Emperor had quietly placed her hand on the water, and boom, it set off a huge wave, sweeping Mu Qingya away, as if there was a huge wave behind her, pushing her away until she disappeared. Chapter 2140. The past life 65, since little Nine had already said that there was no need for her to be friendly with little Nine. She smiled coldly, and she finally said what she wanted to say. The 9th Emperor smiled as she slowly walked toward her. She clicked her tongue twice, scanning Mu Qingya up and down. Mu Qingya's expression changed. She took a few steps back and looked at little Nine cautiously. What are you going to do? Looking at Mu Qingya's expression, the 9th Emperor laughed out loud. What are you so afraid of? With this face, you are not even half as beautiful as Dongfang. Moreover, I have Chongfeng by my side. What do you think I will do to you? Hearing the 9th Emperor's first few words, Nan Changfeng's face gradually sank. His eyes lit up at the end of her sentence, and a smile appeared upon his face. Mu Qingya froze for a moment. Little Nine, she's a pervert? Her face sank. Little Nine, I came here today for my father. You should know that my father is the Emperor's son-in-law now. If he even loves you, he won't give up the position he had today. The 9th Emperor stroked her chin. Her face was calm, but the smile in her eyes was a bit cold. Then, you go back and tell him to be a good Emperor's son-in-law and don't bother me again. Otherwise, the 9th Emperor laughed and shook her head. I don't want to bully the weak. It is too embarrassing. Bully? After hearing these words, Mu Qingya sneered. Her smile was sardonic as she looked up at the 9th Emperor. The coldness in her eyes became even more apparent. Back then, she only thought that little Nine was not very good-tempered, but she did not expect that she was still so wild and arrogant. Little Nine, Mu Qingya smiled faintly. You take care of yourself, and this servant of yours. She paused for a moment and turned to Dongfang. Dongfang had an unyielding cold expression and was not even willing to glance at Mu Qingya. This girl can even seduce an old man in public, and you, however, are not disciplining her well enough. She pursed her lips, and her smile became even colder. The 9th Emperor sneered as she walked toward Mu Qingya. When Mu Qingya turned sideways, she was confronted with that stunning and breathtaking face. She had to admit that this woman was indeed beautiful, making her a little jealous. Me for extra chapters. Unfortunately, the strongest were the most important. Even if one had the most beautiful face, it would not bring any good. Since you don't want to leave on your own accord, I will give you a ride. She raised her hand and lifted Mu Qingya. Mu Qingya was a bit panicked, and her face was pale, but she did not have time to fight back. She did not see that the young man's tender gaze was always fixed upon her, never moving away. Dongfang Yu oddly looked at Nan Chongfeng and then looked at the ninth emperor, frowning. She felt that Nan Chongfeng was strange. Could it be that this guy was really hitting on the ninth emperor? Dongfang Yu's heart thumped and even looked at Nan Chongfeng with eyes filled with cautiousness. Mu Qingyao went back home in a mess. Princess Qing Luo stopped in her tracks when she saw Mu Qingya and then burst into a rage. Qingya, tell me, who did this to you? Her eyes were full of anger, and her gaze was stern. When Mu Qingya looked up, she saw Mu Yi walking out. She lowered her gaze and shook her head. Mother, I'm fine. You don't have to ask anymore. I'll just change my clothes. It's not a big deal. Chapter 2141. The past life 66. The whole courtyard became quiet. Nan Chongfeng took a coat and draped it over the ninth emperor's body, and it gave her some warmth. He gently held her from behind. The young man's smile, too, was filled with warmth. Ninth Emperor, you still have us. The ninth emperor had not said anything, but he knew that the ninth emperor left Feng Yun Kingdom in despair back then. She was out on her own, and he did not know how much suffering she had to go through to get to where she was today. The man who was her father never cared about her life, but had another wife and daughter. If the ninth emperor had not returned, perhaps he would not have remembered he had such a daughter. His daughter was so excellent, and he would regret it one day for not treating her well. The ninth emperor smiled and withdrew her gaze. From the moment I decided to leave back then, there is no longer any relationship between him and me. I don't care if he marries another. After all, the world knows that my mother is dead. He does not need to hold on to her for life. At this moment, the ninth emperor still did not know. After 1,000 years, she would be reincarnated as a princess. In this life, only a man knew his wife was no longer alive, but still waited for his wife for nearly 20 years until his wife came back. That man was called Feng Tianwu, and his wife was the famous Empress Nailin. Only such people were worthy of the name of a divine couple. I want. Nan Changfeng's expression was solemn as he looked at the ninth emperor, with an unreadable light in his eyes. If one day you are no longer here, I will go to you. The ninth emperor looked at Nan Chongfeng in surprise. She narrowed her eyes and patted his head with a smile. With this strength, you want to find me? I guess even if something happens, you will be the first to be in trouble, and maybe I'm the one who will have to go looking for you. The ninth emperor did not know that what she said would actually happen. Little that she knew that Nan Chongfeng would be in danger a few days later because of her. He would lay in her arms, almost dead, and she, giving up her life, would just allow him to reincarnate again. She even waited for 1,000 years before she got the chance to reunite with him. In that life, she was the great princess, Feng Ruqing, and he was the cold and gentle state preceptor Nancian. Me for extra chapters. It was a pity that they still did not know everything today and would have to face it in the future. The ninth emperor smiled and turned to the sky, and her eyes were much gentler. Nan Chongfeng stood next to the ninth emperor. Don't worry, because I will not hold a grudge against my sister. Mui's heart ached a little. If only little Nine can be as understanding as Qingya. But thinking about little Nine's temper, he had a bit of a headache again. He was afraid that it would be a little difficult to get her to apologize. However, if he didn't do that, Qing Luo might pursue this matter and complain to the emperor. There was no way he could protect little Nine because the emperor loved Qing Luo and would not let her suffer even a single bit. After all, it was not King Luo's fault. She knew that he had always felt guilty about little Nine. But it was difficult for her to accept someone else's daughter and love another's daughter like her own. Chapter 2142. The past life 67. Princess Qing Luo had just returned from the palace, and of course, she knew nothing. But what about Mu Yi? When he saw Mu Qingya in such a mess, his heart skipped a beat, and he hurried toward her, with his gaze full of concern. Qingya, didn't you go to look for little Nine? How did you end up like this? Qing Luo stiffened. Little Nine? Why is it always her? She took a deep breath. Her face somewhat darkened as she turned to Mu Yi and asked, Did Qingya go to meet Little Nine? This time, she was shouting fiercely, not pretending as she did before. She was furious. Her body trembled, and her eyes were filled with anger. Qing Luo, Mu Yi was shocked. He took a deep breath and said, She just want to look for Little Nine, but that doesn't mean Little Nine did it. So Qing Luo turned to Mu Qingya and asked in a deep voice, Tell me, who hurt you like this? Is it Little Nine? Mu Qingya lowered her head. Seeing her reaction, Qing Luo became even angrier. Qingya, are you like your father, still protecting Little Nine now? I don't care what she has done before, but I can't let her go this time. How can I, as a mother, let others bully my daughter? Am I worthy of being a mother? King Luo's voice was filled with anger, and her eyes were filled with monstrous rage. Mu Yi opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but looking at King Luo's expression, he knew that any explanations would be useless now. The last time they fought because of some misunderstanding. However, this time, Qingya looked for Little Nine with good intentions, and Little Nine should not have done such a thing. Qing Luo, Mu Yi smiled bitterly. If it was really Little Nine's doing, it'll settle this matter. He'll ask Little Nine to come and apologize. Qing Luo was the princess. She had endured too much pain for him, so this time, he could not continue to let her suffer. Otherwise, it would all be a disaster for the Mu family. However, one was an imperial princess, and the other was his daughter. It was too difficult for him to choose. He closed his eyes, trembling. After a few seconds, seeing Qing Luo did not speak, he opened his eyes and turned to Qingya. Qingya, you do not need to worry. I will settle this matter for you. I know that you went there for me. Little Nine, after all, she has not lived with us since childhood, and there are many things she still did not understand. Me for extra chapters. Mu Qingya nodded with a bitter smile. Father, I understand. That's why I will give her some time. Maybe because she is used to being alone outside and has suffered many grievances so that she may hold a grudge. I can grow up by Father's side, but she couldn't. I understand, Father. There were only Dongfang Yu and Tian Xian, and no one watched the door, so these people kept coming as they wished. She had to use the formation to stop them. Initially, she was too lazy to set up the formation, but she did not expect that the people of the Mu family were so persistent. Yesterday, his daughter had just come, and today this old man was here too. When would they finally leave her alone? Dongfang Yu stopped Mu Yi. Her face was cold, expressionless. What are you doing here? Leave now. Mu Yi frowned and looked at Dongfang Yu coldly. However, after seeing Little Nine, who walked out from the courtyard, his face eased a lot, and his tone was gentle. Little Nine. This name gave the Ninth Emperor goosebumps. She could not help but touch her arms as she shivered. However, Mu Yi, as if he did not notice a bit, smiled and walked toward the Ninth Emperor. I came to look for you yesterday, and when I saw you sleeping, I left. So I came early this morning. The Ninth Emperor looked at Mu Yi and frowned. Then, what are you doing here? I came to see you. I want to ask about what happened yesterday. Mu Yi looked a bit hesitant. Perhaps he did not know if it should be said or not, but he still said it anyway. Yesterday, your sister came home soaking wet. I want to ask you what happened. She just wants you to go home, so she came to meet you. The Ninth Emperor looked blank and puzzled. I don't know. Was she mad? Mu Yi froze, and his face slightly stiffened. Little Nine, what do you mean by that? He trembled and asked. The Ninth Emperor sneered and shrugged. Yesterday, she came to me, stood in my courtyard for half a day, and did not say anything. But finally, all of a sudden, she jumped into the lake. All of a sudden, she jumped down the lake? Mu Yi froze. So it's not Little Nine who pushed her? Why did Qingya jump into the lake? So you should not ask me. You should go back and ask her what is wrong. If she wants to bathe, there's no need to come to me. Or does she like the feeling of being wet? Little Nine. Mu Yi's face changed dramatically. Little Nine still isn't telling the truth about Qingya. Your sister? She would not jump for no reason. Little Nine, tell me what really happened. I'm doing this for you. Mu Yi pleaded. Facing the daughter in front of him, he did not dare to say too much. What does he mean by doing this for me? He's here today to do justice for Mu Qingya. The ninth emperor sneered at Mu Yi. I said, if you want to know what happened, you should go back and ask her. There is no need for you to keep asking me here. If she did not jump down herself, are you implying that I pushed her? If so, why should I push her? Me for extra chapters. Hearing the ninth emperor's words, Dongfang Yu turned and looked at her. The ninth emperor indeed did not push Mu Qingya. She picked her up and threw her in. Mu Yi said he was just asking some questions, but he was just looking for trouble for her daughter in reality. Why can he only believe in Mu Qingya's words but not the ninth emperor, and he is still asking questions? If the ninth emperor told him what Mu Qingya said yesterday, I am afraid that this person will still only believe in Mu Qingya and not the ninth emperor. So, this was why the ninth emperor did not say anything, but she also did not like to take the blame for people. Little nine, Qingya, how could she jump for no reason? Mu Yi was still somewhat unconvinced. Any ordinary person would not do this. However, looking at little nine, it did not look like she was lying. Maybe it was because Mu Qingya had followed him since he was young, so he was still more willing to believe Mu Qingya. After all, Qingya would never lie, much less do something like framing others. The ninth emperor shrugged. I said I don't know, so you don't have to keep asking me. I don't welcome any of you here either. So in the future, you don't have to come to me and pollute my lake. I'm afraid she'll poison all the fish in my lake. Mu Yi's face turned pale as if he could not believe that these were Little Nine's words. He had initially wanted to ask Little Nine to follow him back to apologize to Mu Qingya, but he could not say these words for a while. He knew that he would only make a fool of himself by saying it out loud. Little Nine would never apologize. Little Nine, Qingya did not mean anything else. She just wants to reunite with you. As your father, I do not want you to end up like this. Do you understand? Mu Yi's gaze was sincere as he looked at the ninth emperor unblinkingly. The ninth emperor's face changed from the initial coldness to impatience as she said coldly, Dongfang Yu, send him away, and in the future, none of them is allowed to disturb me. Little Nine, Mu Yi's voice was filled with grief. How did you turn out like this? I remember you were good, sweet, and understanding when you were a child. But why have you become so insensitive? Well-behaved and understanding? The ninth emperor snorted. Her voice was cold. To you? Or that old lady in your manner? Mu Yi's face stiffened. Little Nine's good behavior and understanding were only for her mother. She never liked old Lady Mu. So, it was not that she had changed. She had not changed in all these years and was still as unapproachable as before. Little Nine, Qing Luo is the princess of this kingdom, and Qingya is her daughter. I don't want her to find trouble with you. Do you understand? Mu Yi said painfully, this is all painful for me. So listen to me. No matter who is right and who is wrong this time, you must go and apologize to Qingya. Then, this matter will be over. Otherwise, Princess Qing Luo would definitely not give up this time. Besides, Qing Luo had already suffered too much for his sake and even lost the emperor's favor. If Little Nine refused, it would only make Qing Luo sad. How could he bear it in his heart? An apology could solve the problem. So why did they not solve it immediately? Dongfang Yu froze. Earlier, this person was asking the ninth emperor questions without knowing who was right or wrong. And then he wanted the ninth emperor to meet that woman to apologize? And was Mu Qingya worthy of it? Master, Dongfang Ye's face turned cold. I will throw him out later and will not let him come here again in the future. Mu Yi's face darkened. Little Nine, listen to me. This servant is not a good person. She relies on your affection and favor. She does not respect us, so she will undoubtedly become unfilial, and she also relies on her beauty to hook up with Sima Yan. I am afraid she will only bring you disaster. Me for extra chapters. Hook up with Sima Yan. Yesterday, Mu Qingya said that too. Such a perfect pair of father and daughter, doing things entirely by their own preferences. What? Suddenly, a cold and stern voice came from the back, causing Mu Yi to instantly froze. The ninth emperor looked up at the middle-aged man walking in from outside the courtyard, and she rubbed her temples with some headache. I need to set up the formation tonight. These people like to come and disturb her. She still wanted to find the truth about her mother's disappearance. Sima Yin. He looked at Sima Yin, who was walking toward him coldly. His gaze sank. Sima Yin was expressionless, and his cold gaze fell upon Mu Yi. Earlier, I heard you say something about me. Mu Yi, if you have the guts, say that again to my face. Chapter 2146. The Past Life 71. Mu Yi. This bastard. He is spewing nonsense again. He did not come last night because it was too late for him to disturb little Nine, but he did not expect that he would arrive just in time to hear Mu Yi accuse him today. Mu Yi froze. What's this guy doing here? He said with a taut face. I came to look for my daughter. What? Do you want to meddle in my daughter's affairs? Sima Yin coldly laughed at Mu Yi's appearance, and that laugh was filled with sarcasm. Your daughter? That also depends on whether she admits to being your daughter or not. If she doesn't admit that she is your daughter, so what does that mean to you? Mu Yi's face darkened. He turned to Sima Yin and snarled, She's my daughter. The blood of my Mu family runs through her body. So what do you mean she is not my daughter? Sima Yin, you'd better leave our Mu family's affairs alone. Whether little Nine admits it or not, it doesn't change the fact that I am her father. The sarcasm in Sima Yin's smile grew stronger, and even his eyes were filled with ridicule. After Princess Qing Luo went back, he was sure that she did not tell Mu Yi what the emperor had told her. So now Mu Yi still dared to frame Dongfang Yu. Princess Qing Luo. She's such trouble. I must report this to the emperor and get him to teach the princess well. She wants to drag down the entire Feng Yun kingdom because of jealousy? Mu Yi, you'd better go back and ask Princess Qing Luo more about what the emperor said to her so that you won't get into trouble in the future. This statement made Mu Yi slightly stunned for a moment, but he was already overwhelmed by anger and only thought for half a second before returning to his senses and laughing coldly. What did she say? She has already told me that the emperor favors this servant because of you and that you and this servant still have an affair. Mu Yi's words became more excessive, making the ninth emperor go behind him immediately and kick him out hard. Dongfang Yu closed the door. No one is allowed to come here. She shrugged off her clothes, turned around, and walked toward the room. She did not even look at Sima Yin. These people came every day to disturb her peace. It was simply endless. They just could not let her be alone. And me for extra chapters. The ninth emperor paused for a moment. Mu Yi just got up from the ground. The fact that he was kicked out made his face pale and also in disbelief. What happened these years that made little Nine so unfilial? Mu Yi. The ninth emperor sneered. There is no relationship between us. There was not, and there will never be in the future. So, do not come to me again. I don't want to hear you humiliate Dongfang Yu. This time, I will still spare your life for the sake of my mother, who has been missing for years. But next time, I will make sure you will not be able to walk out of here. People's patience always had a limit. She could tolerate it only so far, even though it was not easy. This was all because, back then, this man was indeed the one her mother once loved. For her sake, she gave him one last chance. However, if he appeared before her again, then she really would not be polite. Little Nine. Mu Yi looked mournful. I am your father. Shut up. The ninth emperor was expressionless. You only have one daughter, and that is Mu Qingya. I am not your daughter, because I cannot give the title that you have today. Chapter 2147. The Past Life 72. After dropping these words, the ninth emperor walked into the room. She closed the door, not giving a hint of opportunity. Sima Yin was also a bit embarrassed. It was hard to meet little Nine, and he could not find out whether she was the ninth emperor or not. It was all because of Mu Yi, who had caused little Nine never to want to see him again. However, Mu Yi was not the reason the ninth emperor did not want to see Sima Yin. She was annoyed and did not want to see anyone. Maiden Dongfang, I see that young lady Mu is a little unwell. I will leave first and not disturb her. Sima Yin smiled. I will see her again when she is better. Dongfang Yu smiled and did not say anything. From the moment she saw Sima Yin, she knew that Sima Yin would bug her. Unfortunately, no one could come to pester the Ninth Emperor in the future. From this night on, the Ninth Emperor would definitely set up formations just so that these people could not disturb her. Well, you go back first. The Ninth Emperor is annoyed by certain people who are stubborn. His daughter just came by yesterday, and today he came by, Dongfang Yu said with a smile. Mu Yi's daughter? Mu Qingya? Sima Yin froze and hesitated for a second. Was it noble Lady Qingya? Dongfang Yu sneered. Does he have other daughters? That woman was also strange. After coming here and not saying a word, she directly jumped into the water. And then she left. Today, Mu Yi came to my master to settle that matter, saying that my master pushed Mu Qingya. With these words, she was unintentionally repeating what the Ninth Emperor had just said. Mu Yi did not believe the Ninth Emperor, but Sima Yin might. As for whether it was true or not, it did not matter. Even if it were not true, the Ninth Emperor would make him believe it. Sima Yin, who was still smiling, froze after hearing these words. He did not like the Mu family, but Mu Qingya was a noble lady and had always been kind and naive. But how could she do such a thing? Sima Yan's heart was smashed down like a thunderbolt. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Mu Qingya had deliberately jumped into the lake, and today Mu Yi came to find little Nine to settle the score for it? In the end, who was telling the truth, he did not know. Dongfang Yu, you do not have to worry. I will support you on this matter. Sima Yin looked at Mu Yi coldly. It seems that your people from the Emperor's son-in-law's manor take the Emperor's words lightly. In that case, I will report to the Emperor about all of these, including what noble lady did. Mu Yi was first stunned, then sneered. Firstly, I don't believe Qingyao really did this. Secondly, the Emperor has always loved Qingyao with all of his heart. Do you think you can threaten me with this? Me for extra chapters. Sima Yin sneered and smirked. But compared to Fengyin Kingdom, of course, his kingdom is more important to him. After saying that, Sima Yin left. He brushed his sleeves and left, fast and hurried. Mu Yi's face sank. Why would it be compared to his kingdom? It's hard not to say that this bastard Sima Yin wants to threaten the Emperor with the troops in his hands. But is the Emperor someone who could be threatened so easily? Moreover, even if Sima Yin is strong, he was given the power by the Emperor, and if he left Fengyin Kingdom, he is nothing. He gradually calmed down as he thought about this. Chapter 2148. The Past Life 73. When Sima Yin left, Mu Yi did not stay longer. He finally looked at the door of the Ninth Emperor's closed door, turned around, and left. Meanwhile, in the Emperor's son-in-law's manor, Princess Qingluo had long been waiting for him. She waited for a long time until Mu Yi returned. She hurriedly stood up and rushed toward him anxiously. How is it? She was impatient. Seeing Princess Qingluo walking over, Mu Yi's face slightly sank. He sighed helplessly and smiled bitterly. She does not want to come. In the end, he still reported the words truthfully to Qingluo. This was what Princess Qingluo had expected. Therefore, when Qingluo saw Mu Yi this way, she did not seem surprised. She sneered. Mu Yi, if she does not want to come, we cannot force her. After all, I've already given her an opportunity, but she did not grab it. Little Nine, that bitch. She not only wanted to steal away Mu Yi, but she even humiliated my daughter. Does she think that I will let her go? A cold light flashed in her eyes, a coldness that made people shudder. Mu Yi's heart thumped. He knew that Princess Qingluo was very angry, but little Nine was his daughter. How could he bear to see her suffer? Qingluo. Mu Yi suddenly thought of Sima Yan's words. He gritted his teeth and said, Did the Emperor say anything to you before? What? There was a cold light in her eyes. Do you think my father has said other things to me, and that I would omit that? Mu Yi, I have never thought that you will think of me like that. If there is something about me that you are unhappy about, then just tell me. I, Qingluo, have endured all these years in this family for you. I gave up my glory and wealth as a princess. I had made my father resent me. So what more do you want? Each sentence carried anger and disappointment. In the past, Mu'i did not care about Princess Qingluo. It was the old lady who forced him to marry, and he never cared about her. However, this time, seeing the disappointment in King Luo's eyes, his heart trembled, and he closed his eyes in guilt. Qingluo, I don't mean it that way. His voice was a little choked and hoarse, and he slowly opened his eyes. Me for extra chapters. That's enough. Qingluo angrily raised her hand and pushed Mu Yi, who wanted to approach her, away, and her eyes were filled with grief. You would rather believe Sima yin over me? Mu Yi, Qingluo, vouch for myself that I have never wronged you all these years. If you still pity little Nine, then I do the same. She is your daughter. How can I not accept her? Even though I have thought about it, as long as she is willing to come back, I will ask Qingya to give up her room. But why are you treating me like this? Not only did you suspect me for not telling the whole truth earlier, but you also broke Qingjia's heart for little Nine. She only went to meet little Nine for your sake, but little Nine treated her like this, and, as a father, you failed to do her justice. Tears flowed from King Luo's eyes, and her voice sounded heartbreaking. No matter how much little Nine dislikes me, I have accepted it. After all, it is true that I snatched you from her, and because of me, the old lady does not like her, but if she wants to go away, it is her own choice. Why you put the fault on Qingya and me? Her mother is no longer alive, so why must you keep her in your heart for life? In this world, it was customary for men to have many wives and concubines, but there were not many good men like Mu'i. That was why she had married him despite the opposition from so many people. But little Nine's mother was dead. For a deceased person, why did he still have to long for her? She married him, and what was wrong with that? What qualifications does that bitch little Nine have to complain about me? Looking at Mu'i, who did not say anything, Princess Qingluo sneered. My daughter is my life. I will not allow anyone to bully her even a bit. If little Nine is willing to come back, then she will also be my daughter, but if she is unwilling to come back, then she has no right to bully my Qingya. Mu'i's lips trembled, and he closed his eyes again. After the trembling heart calmed down, he opened his eyes. There is another matter, he smiled bitterly. Little Nine told me that it was Qingya who jumped into the lake herself. So I came back this time to ask Qingya personally. Did she pop? A clear sound came from outside the door. Mu'i looked up and saw Mu Qingya approaching them with a bowl of soup. Perhaps because his words earlier, the bowl of soup in Mu Qingjia's hand fell to the ground, and the bowl shattered into pieces. Mu Qingjia's face was pale. With a look of disbelief, she gazed at Mu'i, aggrieved. Father, are you doubting me? She even spoke with a trembling voice, and her tears flowed uncontrollably. I don't mean that. I just want to hear you explain it yourself. Mui's heart ached. She was his most beloved daughter, and he felt guilty to little Nine. After all, it was all father's guess. As long as you tell me the truth, I will believe in you. Mu Qingya smiled bitterly. I don't want to cause any fight in our family. I also do not want to be a tattletale, but I never thought my sister would make such accusations. Why would I jump into the lake? Only to get wet? All these years, Mu Qingya had never told a lie. Therefore, Mu'i said, as long as she told him what happened that day, he would trust her. But little Nine, she lied to him before. Me for extra chapters. She had clearly said she was going to go out for a trip and soon would return, but who knew that after so many years, she would not return? That girl lied to him. So how could he believe her? I'm sorry, Qingya. It's father. That's enough. Princess Qingluo shouted angrily. She glared at Mu'i, seemingly in deep pain. You not only doubted me before, but now, you are doubting even Qingya. Mu'i, I have been doing everything in vain for so many years. I was so infatuated with you, and this is how you repay us. Mu Qingya froze. She pursed her lips. Father was also doubting. Mother. Father and mother have always respected each other, but now for little Nine, they have become like this. How could she be calm? Mu Qingya took a deep breath. The cold air that she had inhaled through her mouth made her tremble a little. Because of Sima Yan's words, your father thought that your grandfather and I discussed something without telling him. King Luo's eyes were full of disappointment. For little nine, you have become a stranger to me. Looking at Princess Qing Luo's disappointed expression, Mu Yi's heart once again felt stung. Chapter 2150. The past life 75, he wanted to comfort Princess Qing Luo, but she dodged him before he could touch her. His fingers stiffened in the air, and his gaze was filled with sorrow. Qing Luo, I'm sorry. It's not that I don't believe you. That's enough. Qing Luo closed her eyes in disappointment. Her body was trembling. After a few seconds, she gradually calmed down and slowly opened her eyes. You don't have to explain. I know what's in your heart. My daughter and I can never compare to your little nine. For so many years, it has been me who has been bugging you. If you don't like it, I am willing to take Qingya away so you can live happily with little nine. Mu Qingya walked up to King Luo's side sadly. It was obvious that she was disappointed with Mu Yi. Mu Yi felt guilty. He felt like a useless father for doubting Qingya. Qingya would never lie. Qing Luo, you do not have to say such things. In my heart, no one is more important than Qingya. I owe too much to little nine. I want to make up to her, but what I really care about most is always Qingya. One was the daughter who grew up with him, the other. She left when she was a child. The most important would always be the one who grew up around him. Old Lady Mu had awakened and had only been resting in her room. However, she rushed out after her servant reported to her about this matter. When she heard that Qing Luo was going to take Mu Qingya away, she was so angry that her cane hit the ground hard, and there was a wave of uncontrollable anger in her voice. Bastard! You bastard! Who permitted you to meet little nine again? That little bastard still dares to hurt Qingya. Did you think that because I'm injured, I would allow her to do whatever she wants? Mu Yi, go and drive that bastard away immediately. Don't allow her to appear in Fengyan Kingdom, or else I won't even take you as my son anymore. Mu Yi opened his mouth and wanted to defend little nine, but after seeing Mu Qingya and Princess King Luo's faces sink, he remained silent. He was afraid that little nine would have a hard time if she did not come back home. But now, perhaps it was better to let her leave just like before, and maybe she would have a better life out there. However, he owed his daughter a lot, and he felt guilty. Therefore, even after little nine had made a mistake, he was still willing to tolerate her again and let her come back. However, she hurt Qingya. If she had not targeted Qingya, he would have let her stay. Me for extra chapters. Let me take care of this matter. Mu Yi smiled bitterly. The anger upon Princess King Luo's face faded after hearing this. She pursed her lips and said, Mu Yi, had little nine promised to be more obedient and not bully Qingya, maybe I would still keep her and treat her nicely. But she is too wild, cruel, and vicious. If Qingya did not know how to swim, wouldn't she have drowned in that lake? She sighed. If she could do this, who knows if one day she would poison Qingya out of jealousy. We can't let that happen. Mu Yi did not say a word. Chapter 2151. The past life 76 perhaps. From the moment little nine was unwilling to come back with him, it was already doomed. I will meet little nine tomorrow, Mu Yi said with a bitter smile. Mother, you are still weak. Why don't you go rest first? Old Lady Mu snorted coldly. If you had the means to seek justice for Qingya, would you still need me, an old lady, to come out? If it weren't for you being so useless, I wouldn't be this exhausted. After saying these words, Old Lady Mu did not look at Mu Yi again as she turned around and left the room. Looking at Old Lady Mu's back as she left, Mu Yi's eyes were also filled with guilt. He felt useless. After his wife passed away, he had married Princess Qing Luo and had an excellent daughter, but he had no way to vent his anger on her behalf when she suffered just because he owed little nine too much. His mother was hurt, but he could do nothing. Even more, little nine, who was once well-behaved and understanding, had now turned out to be so. Qingya. Mu Yi turned to look at Mu Qingya. Tomorrow, I will meet little nine again. He had gone to beg her to apologize a few times, but all in vain. He had no choice but to drive her away forcefully tomorrow. That was the only way his family could be peaceful again, and little Nine would not make mistakes because of her ignorance. He closed his eyes in grief. I'm sorry, little Nine. I'm doing this for your good. If you continue to stay, one day, the princess will be furious, and by then, I cannot help you. Mu Qingya smiled as she walked toward Mu. Father, I'm only thinking about grandmother's health. After all, one of sister's servants had dared to hurt grandmother. If we didn't take any action, maybe sister might even dare to hurt her in the future. Have you ever thought about this? Mu trembled. Indeed, even a servant had dared to make a move on mother, so little Nine must have dared to do so even more. He remained silent. Princess Qingluo and Mu Qingya left. They did not say anything more, thinking about how they should go to little Nine tomorrow. Unfortunately, Mu was not able to meet the ninth emperor. For extra chapters. He and Sima Yin came to disturb the ninth emperor one after another, so she had set up a formation overnight, and after he broke into the courtyard, he found the whole courtyard empty. What was even more frightening was that he could not get out. He stayed in that formation for a whole day and night before the people inside found out and let him out. Otherwise, there was no way for him to leave without someone releasing him. When Princess Qingluo saw Mu return without success, her face was suddenly cold again as she asked, Mu, up until now you are still pitying little Nine? What about our daughter and mother? Moreover, you went out for a whole day and night before coming back. What exactly did you do? Mu smiled bitterly and said helplessly, I don't know what happened. After I entered the courtyard, I couldn't see anyone, and I couldn't leave. Until the dawn, I somehow walked out again. If he said he did not see anyone, Qingluo might have believed that maybe little Nine had gone out, so he could not see her. But walking around the courtyard all night without being able to come out, and then somehow coming out at dawn, did he think she was a fool? Princess Qingluo sneered, and the disappointment in her eyes grew. Mu, you can even tell such a lie for little Nine. Would you do something to our mother and daughter then? Chapter 2152. The Past Life 77. When Mu saw that Qingluo did not trust him, he became a little anxious. But looking at Qingluo's indifference, he could not even say a word. It's not a surprise if Qingluo did not trust me. How could she believe in me after what I've done to her these years? I owe Qingluo too much in this life. Mu closed his eyes in sorrow and said nothing. His face was so pale that Qingluo's heart almost softened again after seeing him in such condition. No, my daughter and I will suffer if he doesn't drive little Nine away. Therefore, Qingluo remained cold. She was no longer looking at Mu. She simply turned around and walked into the room. She slammed the door of the room fiercely, leaving Mu speechless. Mu laughed bitterly. He looked at the closed door for a while before turning around and walking out of the courtyard. After that day, he went again to find the ninth emperor, and every time he entered the courtyard, he would be trapped inside for a night. The same thing repeated for several days, and even the ninth emperor's people were impatient. Therefore, they locked him for 3 days and 3 nights before he was released. Dongfang Yu handled these things. The ninth emperor stayed peacefully inside her courtyard together with Nan Chongfeng. Later, Mu learned to be wise and no longer snuck into the courtyard. He secretly hid outside the gate, waiting for the ninth emperor. After all, the ninth emperor could not remain inside at all times. Moreover, he clearly heard a voice in this courtyard, but he could not find her every time he went in. He guessed the courtyard was set up with some formation so that he could not enter. As expected, not long after, he saw a figure in a red dress slowly walking out of the courtyard. The sunshine was perfect today. The ninth emperor stretched her body lazily with a smile upon her face. Looking at her smile, Mu's heart trembled a little. He could not help but think of that person again back then. Unfortunately, she was long gone. If she were still there, perhaps all this mess would not have happened. Mu smiled bitterly and walked toward the ninth emperor. The ninth emperor looked up and coincidentally saw Mu walking toward her. She frowned and looked a little annoyed. Why are you here again? Me for extra chapters. She had a headache whenever she saw this man. Mu-I looked a little embarrassed. Little Nine, why haven't I been able to see you these past few days when I went to your courtyard? Oh, the ninth emperor was expressionless. It's because I don't want you to see me. Hearing these words, Mu-I froze, and the smile on his lips grew bitter. He then sighed lightly. I came to find you because there is something I want to talk to you about. The ninth emperor raised her eyebrows and turned to Mu-I. Mu-I smiled helplessly. It has been a long time since you came here. I wonder, when will you leave? The ninth emperor was stunned. Earlier, this man was trying every possible way to get me home, and in the blink of an eye, he wants to drive me away? The ninth emperor smiled coldly as she turned to Mu-I. Is this kingdom yours? Mu-I's expression changed dramatically. Little Nine, don't talk nonsense. This kingdom is the emperor's. Chapter 2153. The Past Life 78-inch. Well, the ninth emperor smiled faintly as she asked, then, what right do you have to drive me away? Since she was here, she would not leave so easily. Mu-I was a little impatient. Little Nine, don't you understand? Qing Luo is the princess of Feng Yun Kingdom. The emperor was not happy when she married me. Maybe he doesn't love Qing Luo as much as before, but she's still his daughter. I'm doing this for your good. This girl, how can she be so stubborn and not understand my intention? Mu-I was afraid that if Little Nine continued to stay, something terrible might happen to her. She was his daughter. How could he not worry about her? Well, the ninth emperor looked at him calmly. If you want me to leave, ask the emperor to come and talk to me personally. After saying that, the ninth emperor was about to leave. However, Mu-I was a bit anxious. He reached out to pull the ninth emperor's sleeve. Only her sleeve. Mu-I wanted to stop her, but facing the cold ninth emperor, he did not dare to grab her arms. The ninth emperor stopped. She glanced coldly at Mu-I, who was tugging at her sleeve. Let go. Mu-I smiled bitterly. Little Nine, just listen to my advice. I will ask you once more. Will you let go? Her gaze was cold. So cold that Mu-I's heart trembled a little. Little Nine really made him a little afraid now. However, he knew that once he let go, Little Nine would ignore him, and if she continued to stay, Qing Luo would also be angry. Little Nine, you get out. The ninth emperor pulled her sleeves away forcefully, sending Mu-I flying away. Afterward, without even looking at him, she turned around and left. Mu-I rolled on the ground, landing in front of a pair of feet. He looked up and saw a cold face. The young man was very handsome and with beautiful silver hair. However, his face and his eyes were cold. Me for extra chapters. Next time, if you disturb the ninth emperor again, the young man smirked. I will make you disappear from here. Forever. Mu-I trembled harder with each sentence. The coldness wrapped around his entire body as if it could drag him into hell. Fortunately, the young man did not stay much longer. He walked away, following the ninth emperor. The man in a snow-colored long robe gradually disappeared. Mu-I gradually regained his strength and calmed down. He clenched his fists tightly. He did not understand why Little Nine refused to listen to him. If she stayed, could she fight against Qing Luo? With her background, she was not a match for Qing Luo. She was just asking for trouble. As a father, I've done what should be done. I have even prayed a few times for you and Princess Qing Luo. I no longer have a way to manage this matter. As a father, he had tried his best to the end. Next, it depended on whether Little Nine would continue to provoke Qing Luo. Mu-I sighed helplessly. He then turned around slowly and headed back to his manor. Qing Luo and Mu Qingyao were still waiting for him at home. Chapter 2154. The Past Life 79. Little Nine was really rude to Mu-I, and for the first time, he made up his mind that he would not care about her anymore. Qing Luo stood up and looked at Mu-I coldly. Mu-I, I have given her a chance, but she did not cherish it. I will let her go this time for you. However, if she messes with me again next time, do not blame me for being merciless. Mu-I quietly sighed in relief, but he still felt guilt. For me, Princess Qingluo would not have to suffer all these if it wasn't for him. Princess Qingluo had sacrificed so much for him. Qingluo calmed herself. She did not believe in the emperor's words, but after all, the emperor was her father. These years, the emperor's son-in-law's manner was not doing very well. If she insisted on going against Little Nine, she was afraid that even her father would restrain her. Therefore, she gave Little Nine another chance. However, if Little Nine messed with her again, she would not let her go, even if her father stopped her. Qingluo smiled coldly after hearing Mu Yi's words. No matter how tolerant I am, I still can't replace that woman in your heart, right? Mu Yi froze for a moment, silent. These years, he did not forget her and, also, Little Nine, whom he had been looking for so long. But the past, after all, was the past. Mu Yi lowered his gaze and looked at Princess Qingluo. 20 years. Qingluo's face was not the same as before. She had aged a lot, and even her eyes, at some point, were filled with sadness. From the day he married her, he had to be responsible for her. Even if it was to respect each other, he had to keep her by his side. It won't happen in the future. This was the assurance he gave Qingluo. It was also considered as the time for him to move on from the past. Qingluo lowered her gaze and smiled coldly. Only this time, she did not speak more, allowing Mu Yi to come forward and pulled her into his arms. After meeting Mu Yi, the ninth emperor did not have time to shop for a while longer before she ran into Sima Yin. Me for extra chapters. Sima Yin smiled awkwardly. He had been blocked from seeing Little Nine here a few days, and he finally met her. However, looking at Little Nine's gaze, it seemed that she already knew what was on his mind, so he could not help but felt a little embarrassed. Maiden Mu, long time no see. The ninth emperor frowned and looked at Sima Yin smilingly. We haven't seen each other for just a few days. So has it been really that long? Did you forget that you ran to my manor and disturbed my rest a few days ago? That made Sima Yin even more embarrassed. He cleared his throat and smiled. I and Dongfang's father once were close friends. Oh, the ninth emperor's tone was calm. Then, when the Dongfang family was exterminated, where were you? Sima Yin was stunned. I went to war that year. If he were here back then, even if he could not protect the Dongfang family, he would not have left Dongfang Yu alone. Chapter 2155. The past life, 80, he would have taken that child away and took care of her. However, he was not there, and when he came back, he heard that the Dongfang family had been exterminated. Dongfang Yu was taken away by the ninth emperor. Now that he thought about it, it still hurt a little. The ninth emperor looked up at Sima Yin and asked, So, what do you want from me? Sima Yin looked at the ninth emperor, and he hesitated for a moment. Maiden Mu, can we talk for a moment? The ninth emperor nodded indifferently. All right, but I am hungry, so you have to treat me. Sima Yin's mouth twitched, but he extended his hand, respectfully. Maiden Mu, please. The ninth emperor followed Sima Yin. After entering the restaurant, Sima Yin looked around carefully and saw that no one was secretly following. He then slowly closed the door. The ninth emperor was a little puzzled and looked at him blankly. Sima Yin laughed and sat in front of the ninth emperor. He smiled and asked, Maiden Mu, may I ask you a question? Initially, he had wanted to investigate it secretly, but he knew that this girl hated the kind of people who beat around the bush, so he thought it was better to ask her directly. Yes. The ninth emperor responded expressionlessly. I heard that Dongfang Yu was taken away by the ninth emperor, and now she's your servant. So I'm curious, are you the ninth emperor? Sima Yin looked sincere, staring at the ninth emperor. Little Nine and the ninth emperor's name both had 9. Was this really a coincidence? Sima Yin could not believe it. The ninth emperor picked up the teacup and took a sip. If you already know, why do you still ask? She did not directly admit it with these words, but it was the same as admitting it. Sima Yin inhaled sharply. He was shocked, and the cup in his hand almost fell to the floor. It seemed that what he and the emperor had guessed was indeed correct. Little Nine was the ninth emperor. Sima Yin was not too willing for Little Nine to be the ninth emperor because of what Princess Qingluo had done. Moreover, Mu Yi was involved in this mess. They wanted to strengthen their relationship with the ninth emperor. But now, it might not be easy. He understood that no one in this world would dare to impersonate the ninth emperor, and since she had said yes, Dong Fangyu was the best proof. Me for extra chapters. Ninth Emperor, Sima Yin stood up and said apologetically, I am sorry about Princess Qingluo and the Emperor's son-in-law. They clearly do not know that you are the ninth Emperor. That's why. She brought the teacup to her lips and took another sip. She remained calm. I have nothing to do with them. Sima Yin was stunned. It seems like the ninth Emperor can't forgive the Emperor's son-in-law. But the ninth Emperor paused. I do not hold any grudge against them either. Once she said that, Sima Yin was quietly relieved. As long as she did not hold a grudge, Fengyin Kingdom would still have a chance. But do not let those people come to bother me again. The ninth Emperor rubbed her temples helplessly. I went out today and met Mu Yi again, which annoyed me a lot. Sima Yin froze for a moment and asked weakly, Mu Yi came? What for? Chapter 2156. The past life 81-inch. He wanted me to leave Fengyin Kingdom. Sima Yin was speechless. How dare Mu Yi tries to make the ninth emperor leave Fengyin Kingdom. It seems that the emperor's words to Princess Qingluo were completely useless, and these people have become even more aggressive. I must report this to the emperor. Ninth emperor, don't worry. I will settle this matter for you. Sima Yin stood up and put his fist to his palm respectfully. He turned around and left coldly. The ninth emperor ignored Sima Yin and continued drinking her tea. It was only after Sima Yin left that she suddenly noticed something. It seems that he has not paid the bill. The ninth emperor's face darkened. Did he try to avoid paying the bill? That's why he left so quickly? She frowned. The next time she saw Sima Yin, she had to make him pay the bill. Since he had said he would treat her, he must pay. Sima Yin was so angry. He rushed toward the palace furiously, which made all the palace servants and eunuchs tremble. What happened to General Sima today, coming to the palace with such rage? He can't be wanting to fight with the emperor. The other people were not able to stop him. They could only see Sima Yin, full of rage, rushing into the palace. Inside the imperial study room, the emperor was still busy with the folders. Suddenly, he saw the old man rushing in from outside of the imperial study room. He frowned and asked, General Sima, what are you doing here? Seeing this Sima Yin, who was full of anger, the emperor's face sank. Have I been too kind to Sima Yin all these years? Now he is so daring to fight with me? Sima Yin could beat all the skilled masters in the palace. Emperor, Sima Yin suppressed his anger. He gritted his teeth and said, Didn't you promise to watch over Princess Qingluo? The emperor frowned. General Sima, watch your words. Princess Qingluo has not gone out for these days, and you are here to question me? Me for extra chapters. Oh, Sima Yin laughed coldly. I don't want Princess Qingluo to destroy our entire Fengyin Kingdom. She is so shameless. She doesn't know what fault she has committed and only thinks she is right. The emperor was shocked. Has Qingluo caused trouble again? What happened? Sima Yin gritted his teeth. About proof. Little Nine is the ninth emperor. The emperor was stunned. These words were like a fist. They viciously punched the emperor's heart. The emperor froze. Even if he'd already guessed that, he still had some mixed feelings when he knew the truth. Little Nine is the ninth emperor. But, Sima Yin continued, those people of the emperor's son-in-law's manor still dare to disturb her. Today, Mu Yi even asked her to leave Fengyin Kingdom. The emperor got up angrily. His face was pale, and he asked incredulously, What did you just say? Qingluo, a woman, blinded by jealousy, refused to listen to me. But since when did Mu Yi become so stupid, too? How dare he do such a thing? This is the ultimate stupidity. The emperor trembled hard. He was so furious his face was blue from anger. Chapter 2157. The past life 82-inch Sima Yin. Pass my order. From now on, no one from the emperor's son-in-law's manor is allowed to set foot outside. This group of fools. They are still trying to meet the ninth emperor by all means. How dare they challenge me? Sima Yin sighed in relief. With the emperor's order, that group of people could no longer be demons, and no one could bother the ninth emperor. Emperor, little nine is surely the ninth emperor. Do we need to tell Princess about this? I'm a bit worried, he frowned. The emperor smiled coldly. If you have the guts, you can go and tell Qing Luo. I do not have the guts to tell others about her identity without the ninth emperor's permission. Have you ever thought about how it will spread if the emperor's son-in-law's family knows about this? If the ninth emperor were to come looking for us to settle this, what should we do? The ninth emperor did not hide her identity to Sima Yin, but it did not mean that she did not care about her privacy. It was different if the ninth emperor had told them herself. If the ninth emperor did not like others spreading the truth about her identity, who would take the responsibility when she was to come looking for people to account for? No one could withstand her wrath so far. Therefore, the emperor was also helpless and could only prohibit those people from going out there and causing trouble. Sima Yin paused for a while before continuing. Noble Lady Qingya, she also went to meet the ninth emperor a few days ago. Qingya? The emperor frowned and hesitated for a moment. Why did Qingya go to meet her? Unlike Qing Luo, Qingya always had well-behaved. Otherwise, the emperor would not have spoiled her so much. She was also kind and gentle, unlike Qing Luo, who was arrogant and spoiled. Moreover, Qingya was smart and beautiful. Therefore, when he heard that Qingya also went to meet the ninth emperor, he just froze for a moment, but did not think much about it. Sima Yin smiled coldly. Emperor, noble lady, not only went to the ninth emperor, but also accused the ninth emperor of pushing her into the lake. She ran back and complained to Mu Yi. That was why Mu Yi wanted to drive the ninth emperor away. The emperor froze for a moment and frowned. If Qing Luo did this thing, he would have thought it was normal. But Qingya, how is it possible? However, these words were from Sima Yin. He would not lie to the emperor. Qingya, since when did she become so? Emperor, what kind of person is the ninth emperor? She is a powerful woman. Would she need to bother with a little girl? It seems like noble lady is not as good as we thought. Sima Yin was also a little disappointed. Qingya showed that she was not the same as she used to be based on what she had done these few days. Or perhaps it was the first time someone in Fengyin Kingdom disobeyed her that made her become so. Me for extra chapters. She was kind and gentle. She changed once there was a threat to her. Sima Yin, the emperor was mad and said sternly, no one is allowed to leave the emperor's son-in-law's manor, including Qingya. We can't leave them be this time. That was the ninth emperor. She could even destroy a city with her power alone. Many skilled masters in the mainland tried to hunt her down, but in the end, none of them succeeded. She even protected those ordinary and weak people. Therefore, everyone in this world worshipped her like a god. No one could replace her position in the people's hearts. You can leave now. The emperor stopped, suddenly feeling a little tired. His children and grandchildren had always made him worry. Yes, emperor. Sima Yin put his fist to his palm and retreated. The entire imperial study room was quiet again, with only the emperor alone. He was lost in thought as he looked at the memo in his hand, as he smiled bitterly. Chapter 2158. The Past Life 83. Inside the emperor's son-in-law's manor, Princess Qing Luo looked at the few people who had stopped her from going out. Her face darkened. What are you guys doing here? I am the princess. Who permitted you to stop me from going out? The guards did not move. Their faces were expressionless and cold. I'm here by the order from the emperor. Princess Qing Luo almost spurted out a mouthful of blood. Her father believed that Dong Fengyu was related to the ninth emperor. It was ridiculous to treat her like this just because of a rumor. Get out of the way, she shouted sternly with a cold face. The guards remained motionless. This is the emperor's order. I dare not to release the princess. Princess, please go back and rest. Princess Qing Luo was so angry she slapped the guard's face. The guard remained stiff, not even showing any expression. Before coming here, they were all mentally prepared because they knew Princess Qing Luo had a bad temper. This task was not easy for them. Mother, Mu Qingya appeared behind Princess Qingluo. She touched her shoulder and shook her head. If grandfather won't let you go out, there's definitely no way. If you go out, it means that you disobey the decree. Grandfather is the emperor, after all. It is not good to disobey him. Qingluo calmed down after hearing Mu Qingya's words. She suddenly remembered Little Nine. So many things wouldn't have happened if Little Nine hadn't come back. She should not have come back. Qingluo took a deep breath and looked at these guards coldly. She then turned away and walked toward the courtyard in a huff. Old Lady Mu had long hidden in the back, not daring to come forward. She dared to show off herself outside using her status as the princess mother-in-law, but she did not dare say anything in front of these people. The one who brought people here was Sima Yin, who was obeying the emperor's order. She was not that stupid to go against the emperor. Mu Qingya saw that Qingluo no longer made a fuss and subconsciously felt relieved. She smiled and turned to the guards. Please move aside. I want to go out to do something. The guards looked at Mu Qingya coldly. This is the emperor's order. No one from the emperor's son-in-law's manor is allowed to go out. Mu Qingya's smile suddenly froze. Me for extra chapters. No one from the emperor's son-in-law's manor is allowed to go out, including me? Her face turned cold. The smile on her face disappeared as she clenched her fists tightly. However, soon, she calmed down and asked smilingly, Did grandfather say why I'm not allowed to go out? I don't know, but this is an order from the emperor, the guard spoke coldly. Mu Qingya took a deep breath and slowly turned around, walking toward the backyard. Her eyes sunk, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. However, she did not make a fuss like Princess Qingluo. Instead, she was nice and obedient. After Mu Qingya left, the two guards stood on both sides of the gate, holding their weapons expressionlessly. Mu Qingya went to the main hall and found that Mu Yi and Old Lady Mu had been waiting for her for a long time. Qingluo's face darkened, and her eyes were filled with rage. Qingluo, Mu Yi pondered for a while. What did the emperor say to you? Why is he suddenly not allowing us to go out now? Qingluo stiffened. It was Sima Yin who did it. Chapter 2159. The Past Life, 84. Sima Yin? Mu Yi frowned. He could still understand if it were only Qingluo and he were prohibited from stepping out. But now, even Qingya was not allowed to go out. Things were not as simple as they thought. The good thing is that when you can't get out of the manor, Little Nine can't also get in. So, she won't be able to follow you around and bully Qingya. The atmosphere suddenly changed when Little Nine was mentioned. Everyone stopped talking, and the main hall fell silent. Finally, it was Old Lady Mu who broke the silence first. Unfortunately, we can't get out, and there is no way to drive her out of Feng Yun Kingdom. Little Nine did not deserve to stay in Feng Yun Kingdom. Old Lady Mu sneered. She felt that Little Nine had brought bad luck to Feng Yun Kingdom. Mu wanted to say something, but recently Old Lady Mu had been hurt quite a lot. So in the end, he remained silent. Never again did he say a word about Little Nine. The Ninth Emperor did not know about this yet, but she could feel that something had happened since everything had suddenly become quiet, and no one came to disturb her anymore. Rarely was there any peace. Changfeng. She turned to look at the young man standing next to her and smiled. Come here. The young man's face was stunning, with a smile playing upon his lips. His smile was as warm as the sun. Ninth Emperor, Dongfang Yu walked in through the door. She was a little hesitant as she frowned. Someone at the door said he wanted to see you. See me? Who? The Ninth Emperor stood up and asked indifferently. Dongfang Yu shook her head. I'm not sure, but it's a man, and he is quite good-looking. Man, Nan Changfeng's breath was steeply cold, and even the temperature of the surrounding air fell drastically. Oh, the Ninth Emperor raised her eyebrows. I'm not interested. But, Dongfang Yu said hesitantly, he said he was your old friend, an old friend? The Ninth Emperor brushed her chin. Do I have any friends in Feng Yun Kingdom? Due to Dongfang Yu's words, the Ninth Emperor paused for a moment and said, Let him in first. I want to see who he is. All right, me for extra chapters. Dongfang Yu turned around and walked out. Within a few moments, a man followed Dongfang Yu in slowly. This man was extremely handsome, and his smile made him look more stunning. If he were among ordinary people, this man would be called the world's most beautiful man. But the ninth emperor looked at Nan Chongfeng next to her and smirked. Compared to Nan Chongfeng, he was still a little bit lacking. She still preferred Nan Chongfeng. Dongfang Yu, you go to Tianxian first. The ninth emperor sat down again and leaned back lazily. Nan Chongfeng stood next to her, looking at her tenderly. Dongfang Yu was a little curious, but she knew that the ninth emperor did not want her to stay, so she walked out of the courtyard, leaving that guy standing in the middle of the courtyard. Long time no see, ninth emperor. The man's voice was gentle. His smile was somewhat devilishly, yet not lacking in elegance. Di Ming. Looking at the man in front of her, the ninth emperor lightly said the long-forgotten name. What? Di Ming smiled. He had not looked at Nan Chongfeng since he entered the courtyard. All his attention was focused on the ninth emperor. In the past, you have always called me master. A few years have passed since then, and you're calling me by my name now? Chapter 2160. The Past Life 85-inch. Oh, the ninth emperor looked at him expressionlessly. Because the one who called you master before was little 9, and now I am not little 9 anymore. But you still recognized me. Di Ming smiled as he walked toward the ninth emperor and stopped in front of her. Nan Chongfeng glanced at Di Ming coldly, took off his outer coat, and put it over the ninth emperor's body. His voice was gentle. Ninth emperor, the weather is a bit cold. You should be careful, or you'll catch a cold. The ninth emperor was long used to Nan Changfeng's behavior. She pulled the coat closer around her body and smiled sincerely. Don't worry, I won't catch a cold from this one. But look at you. You're so thin. If you get sick, will I not have to take care of you? Nan Chongfeng smiled as gently as the spring breeze. Then, would you like to take care of me? The ninth emperor stroked her chin. You help me warm my bed every day. Of course, he'll take care of you. Warm her bed every day. Di Ming frowned and looked at Nan Chongfeng. Somehow, the young man in front of him did not look very old, but gave him a threatening feeling. Little 9, Di Ming laughed. Is this your male pet? It's all right. I don't care so much because I know sooner or later you will be mine, and that's enough for me. The ninth emperor frowned and glanced at Di Ming coldly. What do you want? And please respect Chongfeng. I won't let you go if you humiliate him one more time. No one else could humiliate her, Nan Chongfeng, like this. Nan Chongfeng smiled as he gazed at the ninth emperor. The feeling of being protected by her. It was not bad either. I just returned to Fengyin Kingdom yesterday, and I heard that you are here, so I came to see you. Di Ming smiled faintly. After all, the person who left without telling me back then was you. Back then, she left without saying goodbye. He then left Fengyin Kingdom and looked for her in countless places, but could not find her. He did not expect that she would come back after many years this time. He would not let her go again. Even if he had to tie her to his waist, he would not let her go. The ninth emperor smiled and leaned back on her chair with a smile. So what? I also heard after I came back that you're going to marry Mu Qingya? Me for extra chapters. Di Ming frowned. That is just a wishful thinking of those people that I did not agree with. You did not agree, but did not refuse either. The ninth emperor's words stunned Di Ming, and he fell silent. Either way, when the time came, he would not marry her. Indeed, he did not object to whatever those people said. However, if he refused, was there anyone in this kingdom who could force him to marry her? Di Ming, the ninth emperor, was expressionless. Your problems have nothing to do with me. I ask you not to come and bug me again. There's nothing between us. Di Ming's face gradually sank. Why? You were the one who left without saying goodbye back then. How can you still be so heartless? She left without saying anything. How could she still be so cruel? I'm tired. The ninth emperor looked a bit tired. She turned to Nan Chongfeng and smiled. Chafeng, let's go back to our room. It's getting late. I will ask Dongfang Yu to bring us our meal later. Chapter 2161. The Past Life 86-inch. Alright. Nan Chongfeng smiled gently as he followed the ninth emperor. He turned and glanced at Di Ming. There was a strange coldness in his gaze. Di Ming stood in the courtyard and did not leave. A meaningful smile appeared upon his handsome face as he stared in the direction the ninth emperor went just now. The day was getting late. The ninth emperor sat inside the room, staring at the door. Di Ming is gone. Amidst him, Nan Chongfeng smiled and sat down in front of the ninth emperor. Who is he? Sort of childhood friend? The ninth emperor shrugged. But that was many years ago. When my mother disappeared, I left to look for her. Nan Chongfeng lowered his gaze. He had always felt that this matter was not that simple. Di Ming's relationship with the ninth emperor was unordinary. Ninth emperor, no matter what, I will always stay by your side. Nan Chongfeng reached out and held the ninth emperor's hand. Her hand was cold, making his heart ache a little. From the moment I followed you home back then, you are bound to be my home. The ninth emperor was stunned. She frowned, and abruptly, she laughed out loud. You want to know the relationship between Di Ming and me? I'm willing to listen if you want to talk about it, Nan Chongfeng said smilingly. Looking at the young man smile, the ninth emperor could not help but smile warmly. She turned to the dark sky, and her eyes slightly sunken. Back then, after my mother's disappearance, it was somehow close to Di Ming. At that time, I was young and naive. So now, I did not want to get too close to him. I'm worried that if I am too close to him, it might be painful when I know the truth. Back then, she was too young. Even though they grew up as childhood friends, there were no deep feelings that she could not let go of. Unless she found out that her mother's disappearance was related to Di Ming, Nan Chongfeng did not speak. He stayed by the ninth emperor, listening. His gaze was fixed upon her. Even the ninth emperor did not know that this young man's eyes were only on her from the beginning. She did not realize that their relationship had reached an inseparable point. When my mother disappeared, I was only 12 and Di Ming was 18. The ninth emperor smiled. We grew up together as childhood friends, but if he is involved in this matter, I definitely will not let him go. Nan Chongfeng saw that the ninth emperor was smiling, but he knew she was very sad. Me for extra chapters. He also could not help but hold her hand tightly. His voice was firm. There was no room for doubt. Ninth emperor, I will help you. No one can hurt you, and no one can hurt your family. The ninth emperor felt a headache and rubbed her temples. Chongfeng, do you think that my mother could still be alive? If she is alive, then why has she not come to me? If she is dead, where's her body? Nan Chongfeng caressed the ninth emperor's head gently. Ninth emperor, if you believe she is still alive, then she is alive. Why? The ninth emperor raised her head and looked at Nan Chongfeng blankly. Nan Chongfeng smiled. Because what the ninth emperor believes is bound to be true. The ninth emperor raised her head and stared at Nan Chongfeng. The young man was very handsome, beautiful, like an immortal. The silver hair was very seductive. The room suddenly fell silent. The two of them were very close, and even the ninth emperor could clearly feel Nan Chongfeng's breathing. Looking at this handsome face, the ninth emperor's heart suddenly surged with a feeling. She wanted to sleep with him. She smiled as she touched Nan Chongfeng's face gently. It's a pity that this face is a man's. Otherwise, I don't know how many men in the world would want to sleep with you. If Nan Chongfeng were a girl, many people would want to sleep with him, but unfortunately, he was a man. It was really a pity. The ninth emperor was a little sorry, and she seemed guilty. Nan Chongfeng smiled and asked, "What about you?" The ninth emperor smiled as she stood up from her seat and walked toward Nan Chongfeng. Nan Chongfeng got up. Behind him was the wall. She pressed her hands hard against the top of the wall, looking at his face, and she found that it was indeed perfect without a single flaw. Then, can you sleep with me? I won't say no if the ninth emperor wants to sleep with me. The young man's voice was so pleasing, just like the sound of the zither. The ninth emperor stared at the young man in front of her, and when she saw his smile, she realized that Nan Chongfeng was teasing her again. She smiled and touched the young man's chin. I'm not someone who would take advantage of others. The young man laughed. Don't worry, we'll just stick to you. No matter where you go in the future, it'll follow you, even till the ends of the world. At this moment, Nan Chongfeng never thought that later on, it was not him who was chasing after the Ninth Emperor. The Ninth Emperor would give up her life and look for him in the afterlife just to completely regret not sleeping with him in this life. You can't catch me if I walk away. The Ninth Emperor narrowed her eyes and smiled evilly. The young man reached out and pulled her into his arms. His chest was warm, so warm that the Ninth Emperor was stunned. There was even a strange feeling that surged up to her heart. She had never felt such a feeling before. Ninth Emperor, the young man's lips came to her ear, smiling. Then you can try. You can try and see whether he'll find you again after you sleep with me tonight, or just leave you after that one time. That breath, brushing past her ear, made her body stiffen. She desperately restrained herself from getting closer to him. Me for extra chapters. To her, Nan Chongfeng was just like a white paper, so pure that she could not bring herself to tarnish it. And if she walked away, was it not a beastly act? But to take responsibility, she did not want more responsibilities and did not want to get her whole life involved. Therefore, the Ninth Emperor raised her hands, placed them on Nan Changfeng's shoulders, and gently pushed him away. You're too weak. I'm not interested. She smirked, turned around, and walked toward the bed. Warm the bed for me first. I'm sleepy and want to sleep. Too weak. A light flashed in Nan Changfeng's eyes, and he laughed silently. So, she thinks that I'm too weak? Fine. One day, they'll let the Ninth Emperor know my strength. That day will come soon. Today's weather was not cold, but the Ninth Emperor seemed to be used to Nan Chongfeng warming the bed. She always felt that without a person to help her warm the bed, she would sleep uncomfortably. Sometimes the habit was really a terrible thing. Chapter 2163. The Past Life 88. Without the disturbance of the Mu family, the Ninth Emperor lived a very peaceful life. Even the wind was quite soothing. Only Sima Yin waited every day at the door, looking for her, and he sometimes stayed for several days. Fortunately, the Ninth Emperor rarely went out, so they were not often disturbed by him, but with Sima Yin, the Ninth Emperor was not as impatient as she was with Mu Yi. At least, he would go away when he saw her looking a little tired. At Di Ming's manor, Di Ming stood in the courtyard, his long purple robe fluttering a little in the wind. Suddenly, the guards hurriedly came from the back and respectfully said, "Master, Princess Qingya has sent someone to meet you." Mu Qingya? Di Ming frowned. "I don't want to meet her." "I understand, Master." The guards retreated, quickly disappearing into the courtyard. Meanwhile, in the Emperor's son-in-law's manor, Mu Qingya paced back and forth, her face full of anxiety. She heard that Di Ming had returned yesterday, so she hurriedly sent someone to beg to see him. She did not know Di Ming, but she knew that her grandfather respected him. If Di Ming spoke for her, her grandfather would possibly lift the ban and allow them to go out. Naively, after waiting for half a day, the guard from the Emperor's son-in-law's manor returned and hurriedly met Mu Qingya. "Princess, Master Di Ming does not want to see me." Mu Qingya's face darkened. Her eyes turned cold. A few moments later, she looked up and asked, "Did Master Di Ming say why?" "I don't know." The guard lowered his head. Di Ming did not want to see her. This was something Mu Qingya did not expect. She bit her lip hard, and her face was a little pale. "Go find Master Di Ming again. Say that grandfather has forbidden me to go out. I hope he can help me." The guard wanted to say something, but looking at Mu Qingya's sad face, he did not say it out loud. He finally retreated. Di Ming insisted on not seeing the people from the Emperor's son-in-law's manor. She knew why, but she would not give up. Me for extra chapters. After the guards left, Mu Qingya collected her emotions and walked to the backyard. Princess Qingluo and Mu Yi had been waiting for her for a long time, and after seeing her walk in, the two of them stood up and walked toward Mu Qingya. "Qingya, how is it? What did Master Di Ming say?" A hint of hope crossed Mu Yi's face. Being locked up was not pleasant, and he no longer wanted to continue staying in like this. Mu Qingya smiled bitterly. "Father, Mother, Master Di Ming is not willing to see our people. Not willing to see the people of the emperor's son-in-law's manor? Mui's expression changed slightly. Princess Qingluo's face also sank. She grunted. What's so great about him? He is not from the imperial family. Just because he has some strength and power, he dares to step on our imperial family's head. Qingya, since he looks down on us, you don't have to marry him. We don't need such a person in our family. Mu Qingya smiles bitterly. I do not know what happened. Master Di Ming went out for a trip and became so. Father-mother, does he? Hates me? She lowered her gaze. Seeing her looking like this, Mu Yi's heart ached as he patted her shoulder. Don't worry, Qingya. This marriage is the emperor's decision. He wants you to marry him. Mu Qingya lowered her gaze and did not speak more. Chapter 2164. The past life 89. She must leave the emperor's son-in-law's manor as soon as possible. At least, she must go to see Little Nine. She could no longer let her stay there. She had heard that Master Di Ming and Little Nine knew each other or were childhood friends. They had very good feelings toward each other. If Master Di Ming saw Little Nine, he might have a change of heart. Since Little Nine had left back then, she should not have come back. She did not understand why she had to come back. The ninth emperor knew nothing about what was happening in the emperor's son-in-law's manor. She stood in the courtyard with a blank look in her eyes. Qing Zhu found a cellar under a dry well. She had never thought that there would be a cellar. The ninth emperor strolled toward the cellar, gazing around. There were some murals on the walls of this cellar. The people painted there were too familiar to her. She touched the mural gently. Mother, where exactly are you? She had looked for her for more than 10 years, but could not find any trace of her. The person on the painting did not respond to her. Only that smile was still touching, as warm as the sun. Qing Zhu hissed. Ninth Emperor, there should be no trace of your mother within this cellar. I guess it's in one of your mother's warehouses, as if she did not hear its words. The ninth Emperor continued to walk forward. The candlestick in her hand emitted a dim glow, lighting up her stunning face. Her pair of eyes were bright and radiant like stars. No matter what, I must find her. This was the long-cherished wish of her life. Suddenly, the ninth emperor stopped as she was at another painting. In that painting, there was no longer a stunningly beautiful person she saw just now, but instead a beautiful snow-white fox. A fox. Qing Zhu froze. The painting just now was all about the ninth emperor's mother. Why did it suddenly turn into a fox here? The ninth emperor did not speak, silent. She kept staring at the fox for a long time without withdrawing her gaze. This fox was just a painting, but she felt that the fox in the painting was smiling at her. That smile was so warm that her heart, too, gradually warmed. This fox is also my mother, me for extra chapters. This statement, like a bolt from the blue sky, made Qing Zhu dumbfounded on the spot. The fox is the ninth emperor's mother? Then, in that case, the ninth emperor is a beast man? Qing Zhu stiffened. It was rare to find a beast man on this mainland because only a few humans could be with spirit beasts. It was not that humans despise spirit beasts, but it was because once a spirit beast turned into a human, it would not be willing to marry a human. Moreover, Mu Yi was such a man, and the ninth emperor's mother was far better than him. Therefore, Qing Zhu did not understand why the ninth emperor would have a father like him. The ninth emperor eventually touched the portraits. Her fingers were long and slender, gently brushing over the picture before taking it off the wall and carefully putting it away. Apart from these portraits, there was nothing else in the cellar. After she put the portraits away, she patted Qing Zhu's little head and said, "Go on and look for them. See if there are any other things in this courtyard." "All right," Qing Zhu nodded dumbly. It hesitated for a moment before saying, "Ninth Emperor, there's so many portraits here, but why did you only take this one?" "Because it's more special." The ninth Emperor smiled. That smile was a meaningful one. Chapter 2165. The past life 90. Qing Zhu could not understand what was so special about the portrait, but before it could ask more, the ninth emperor had already left the cellar. She stood in the courtyard, and before she had time to go back and study the portrait, a familiar figure had appeared before her. The ninth emperor frowned, annoyed. Flames burned at the bottom of her heart, and her gaze was cold. "What are you doing here again? I have set up quite a few formations in this courtyard. So how did you get here?" Di Ming smiled. "Have you forgotten? Most of the formations are ones we have studied together." The ninth emperor was stunned. "Oh, I have forgotten that." Her gaze was filled with bewilderment as she hesitated for a moment. "Oh, I don't remember a lot of things. That formation or the people." Di Ming looked at the girl in front of him sadly. "Little Nine, why are you so heartless? Back then, it was you who left without saying goodbye. So why did you become heartless now?" He had waited and searched for her for many years. But now, she was treating him with such rudeness. Di Ming's heart was like being fiercely hammered with a pang of pain that was a little unbearable. The ninth emperor then said expressionless, "Back then, I was young, and I did not understand anything. There was nothing between us. Moreover, Chanfeng and I are now living quite well together. You do not have to come to disturb us." He understood what the ninth emperor's meant, and she could read the sentiment in his eyes. Whether or not her mother's disappearance back then had anything to do with him, there was no possibility between her and Di Ming. She had never liked him, and back then, he was only a childhood friend. There would not be more feelings than that. So, since she did not like him, she would not leave him with any hope. It was better to be heartless. At least, the pain he felt now was only temporary, and sooner he would feel better. Di Ming was stunned. His gaze were fixed upon the ninth emperor, and abruptly he laughed out loud. "Little Nine, you need to stop lying to me. You can't possibly like that guy. After all, he looks too weak." "Weak?" The ninth emperor frowned. This bastard said Nan Chongfeng was weak? Whether he is weak or not, I like him more than I do you. Furthermore, how do you know he is weak? Chongfeng is not only strong, but even energetic in bed. These words were like a sword that pierced Di Ming's heart fiercely. Me for extra chapters. He took a deep breath, but his heart was trembling uncontrollably. How could he control it after he heard those words? The pain was like 10,000 arrows piercing his heart, and he couldn't even breathe normally. "Little Nine, you don't have to lie to me. No matter what you say, I won't believe it. I've waited for you for so many years. You can't be this heartless." Di Ming barely smiled. Just then, Nan Chongfeng came over with his coat and draped it over the ninth emperor. He glanced at Di Ming and turned to the ninth emperor again. His gaze was as warm as the sunlight. "He is here to see you again." "MHM." The ninth emperor nodded slightly. She stretched her body tiredly and smiled. "Uninvited. Uninvited." Di Ming smiled bitterly. Now, he had become an uninvited guest. Chapter 2166. The past life 91 Little Nine had never treated him like this in the past. Ever since she came back this time, everything had changed. The ninth emperor raised her hand and patted Nan Changfeng's face smilingly. "Come and warm my bed tonight." "All right," Nan Changfeng smiled. "As long as you want it, I will warm your bed for the rest of my life." The ninth emperor lifted Nan Changfeng's hair, brought it to her nose, and sniffed it gently. "It smells so good." Nan Changfeng froze for a moment, somewhat dumbfounded, gazing blankly at the ninth emperor, not knowing what wrong with her today was. Suddenly, the ninth emperor walked closer to him and gently held his cheek. Nan Chongfeng frowned and subconsciously looked at Di Ming standing at the side. He then laughed, raised his hand, and wrapped his arms around the ninth emperor's waist. The young girl was so thin, and she looked so light that Nan Chongfeng felt he could lift her with one hand. "Jiaoer, you're hungry, right? He'll go prepare a meal for you later." His voice was soft and gentle, and his eyes were fixed upon the young girl's face. The ninth emperor blinked. "I'm not hungry yet. I overate at noon, and my food hasn't fully digested, so if I continue to eat, I might gain weight." "Don't worry. Jiaoer will always look this good. There's no way you'll gain weight. But no matter what you look like, I will still like it." The ninth emperor was speechless. "What if I got so fat that you can't recognize me?" she asked smilingly. Nan Chongfeng raised his hand and gripped her waist fiercely pulling her close to him. He lowered his head and slowly kissed the young girl's lips. The young man looked so stunning under the sun. His long silver hair was so beautiful, and the silver line between his eyebrows made him even more handsome. Now they were so close. The Ninth Emperor could feel the young man's warm breath, and it made her heart skip a beat. After a slapdash kiss, Nan Chongfeng let go of the young girl, his smile still as gentle as ever. Jewel, I've memorized your lips' taste. They'll be able to recognize you no matter what you become. Even if I am 250 pounds fatty, the Ninth Emperor looked serious. No matter what, these two did not know that this would come true. 1,000 years later, he did not remember anything, and the person he saw in his dream was not the same as the 250-pound girl he met. Me for extra chapters. However, he still recognized her. His feelings for her had never changed. He remembered not only this face, but her soul, her breath, and every bit of her. Even after so many lifetimes, he was still able to recognize her. Diming clenched his fists tightly. He looked down. That scene just now was like a knife that was scraping his heart. The pain was unbearable. However, he still held it back, for he did not have any right to snatch little Nine out of his hands. However, he believed that one day he could rightfully stand next to little Nine. Little Nine! Diming moved his gaze away from Nan Chongfeng and turned to the Ninth Emperor. He smiled and said, "No matter what, I will not give up. I don't care about everything, and I only know that, in the end, you will be mine." Chapter 2167. The past life 92, he took one last look at the Ninth Emperor before turning around and heading to the gate, no longer wanting to stay. His pace was gentle, steady, but with determination. The Ninth Emperor was not married yet, and even if she were married, he would still snatch her back. Diming met the servant from the Emperor's son-in-law's manor on his way back. He knew this servant was Mu Qingjia's servant. When he thought of Mu Qingjia, he frowned and looked slightly impatient. "What do you want?" His tone was cold and indifferent, without the warmth he had when facing the Ninth Emperor. The servant girl replied respectfully, "Noble lady wants to see you." I said I don't want to see her. Can't she understand? His face was somewhat gloomy, and his eyes seemed to be filled with storms. But the servant seemed somewhat timid. Noble lady said that she must see you even for a little while. This is related to little Nine. Little Nine. This name made Diming, who was just about to leave, turn back to look at the servant coldly. "He'll go with you." Usually, he would never want to see Mu Qingjia, but if it was related to little Nine, he would pay attention to it. It was because little Nine was so important to him. "Yes, master." The servant bowed, turned around, and took him to the Emperor's son-in-law's manor. Diming's expression was gloomy since he left little Nine's courtyard. His eyes were dark and filled with an evil aura, making people terrified. The servant in the front trembled a little as she sensed the eerie aura behind her. But noble lady told her to find Master D, so she had to come and meet him. Fortunately, the Emperor's son-in-law's manor was not very far away, and soon they arrived and walked into the manor. The servant quietly sighed in relief as she turned to Diming. "Master D, noble lady has been waiting for you." Diming walked into the manor. From a distance, he saw Mu Qingjia sitting in a pavilion. The young girl wore a long green dress, looking so elegant and beautiful. However, for extra chapters, Diming's heart only had little Nine, and he could not accept anyone other than little Nine. "Master D." Mu Qingjia's eyes lit up when she saw Diming. She stood up and walked toward him. A smile played upon her lips. "You're finally here. I've been waiting for you for a long time. What do you want to say?" Diming's tone was cold, and his face was expressionless as he asked. Mu Qingjia bit her lip. "I haven't seen you for a long time. I somewhat miss you, so I asked my servant to invite you over. The guard confined me and forbade me to go out, so I had no choice except to look for you." Diming frowned. His face was cold. "You asked me to come here to tell me about little Nine. What is it?" "Little Nine. It's little Nine again." Mu Qingjia gritted her teeth with hatred. She knew that Di Ming and Little Nine were childhood friends, but she was not yet born at that time. And later, she replaced Little Nine after Little Nine left. The Mu family and Di Ming, she would never let Little Nine take away what belonged to her again. What belonged to her in this life could only be hers. Master D. Mu Qingya smiled as she walked toward Di Ming. Her voice was so soft that it was like a light breeze brushing against the heart. Di Ming frowned. He took 2 steps back, keeping a distance between him and Qingya. He did not want to be too close to her. Too close. Her breath was disgusting to him. Mu Qingya stiffened. She looked at Di Ming's expression as if there was something about her body that smelled so disgusting that he was unwilling even to get close to her. Di Ming, I asked you to come here for Little Nine. After all, Little Nine is my sister, isn't it? She smiled faintly. The smile was as gentle as a spring breeze. But it did not please Di Ming. What do you want to tell me? Just hurry up and say it. He sounded impatient. His cold eyes made Mu Qingya tremble, and she slowly closed her eyes. She did not understand why Di Ming disliked her so much. What was it about her that she could not compare to that Little Nine? After a few seconds, Mu Qingya opened her eyes. My grandfather has grounded me. I wanted to ask him to let me out. Di Ming looked at her expressionlessly. Why should I help you? Mu Qingya smiled coldly. Because Little Nine's mother's death was related to you, wasn't it? In that instant, Di Ming's face instantly sank, and he turned to Mu Qingya furiously. What are you babbling about? I'm not spewing nonsense. Mu Qingya pursed her lips. I heard it before. I heard you talking about her mother. Di Ming, if she knew that her mother's death was related to you, do you think she would accept you in her life? Di Ming's face darkened as if there seemed to be a raging storm. His pair of gloomy eyes was even more gut-wrenching. Mu Qingya lifted her chin stubbornly, staring at Di Ming without any fear. Me for extra chapters. As long as she had this weapon in her hand, there was no way that Di Ming would not listen to her. What exactly do you know? Di Ming's heart surged with anger, and the fierce wind rose around him, lifting his purple robe. Shut up if you know nothing. Mu Qingya smirked. It's not impossible to make me shut up. I want to go out. She just wanted to get out. She must not let Little Nine stay in this kingdom anymore. So, she had to go out and get rid of her. That woman was too much of a threat to her. So much so that she could not sleep in these few days. If Little Nine continued to stay, there was no guarantee that Di Ming would also be snatched away by her. All of her things would become Little Nine's. Di Ming clenched his fists tightly. His cold eyes were fixed upon Mu Qingya's face. I don't hit women, and am even less likely to kill people casually. Otherwise, you would have died just now. Mu Qingya froze. She was only focused on threatening Di Ming, but she forgot that Di Ming could easily get rid of her without anyone knowing it. You just want to go out? Di Ming sneered. All right, great. I will do as you wish. You can go out, and you do not have to meet the Emperor. I will make those guards let you go, but this is the last time. Next time, if you threaten me again, I will make sure you vanish without a trace. Mu Qingya should be grateful that her request was not too excessive. If it were unreasonable, even if Di Ming were not the kind of person who would casually kill others, Mu Qingya would already be dead. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.